Back to another episode of the Hayley Osborne Show. I am so glad you're here with me in your ears, wherever you are today listening to this. This is episode 169, and today I wanted to talk to you about the search era of Instagram. So, I wanted to teach you a little bit about some insider strategies to put your brand on the map that you may or may not have already done or are doing on your Instagram, because let's be honest, like it is a big player or should be a big player in your marketing strategy. And so I think when previously, when Instagram started, so let's take it back a few pegs. Instagram started in 2009. And that wasn't actually that long ago, but it feels like it's been around forever. And it was actually originally built for photographers. So photographers would take photos and just upload their pretty pictures to Instagram. No caption, maybe just like a random hashtag. And that's what it was. And then what happened was the evolution of where we are now. Businesses jumped on board. The rise of influencers sort of happened, and now we are where we are. So Instagram is always obviously looking for ways to be smarter. And so I wanted to bring you this scoop. This is something I taught inside of the Superhero Marketing Club, my membership. And I wanted to deliver an iteration of that on the podcast for you, because we all play in Instagram. And I think it's important to stay up to date with the latest and greatest of updates and algorithm changes and search changes. And this is a super big one. So this was a request from one of my members because it's changing and we need to know what to do, how to stay up to date. Because the thing is, if you don't lean in to how these things are changing, so for example, Instagram, then it will get to a point where you will feel like you're left behind because you haven't been keeping yourself up to date with all of the updates, the changes, and how it's morphing and moving into what it is now. And so we are heading into a search era of Instagram, right? And it's great because those businesses that are more strategic on how they show up in this space will be the ones that move forward. Those that stay the same and done what they've always done will move behind, and will start to see a shift, because I think Instagram want you to be strategic. They want you to have thought in and around what you do and how you show up. And I think this is just their way. But also, like, we search for a lot on Instagram. So, don't be fooled that if someone needs what it is that you have to offer, they are searching for you. And Instagram are now meeting people where they are. So search means having keywords. So when we start to think about SEO and Instagram, we are starting to think about how we position our websites, how we position all of our keywords. So now Instagram is coming up in search results because they want the SEO to be great so people can find what they're looking for far more easier than putting a hashtag. Okay, so the first couple of things I want to say, I do have some slides on this, which I'm loving, is, let's adapt quickly, okay, and use now SEO tactics to be able to grow our reach. Okay, more important than ever. I think that hashtags still play a part. I think that, you cannot not have a great hook. So whether it be, and that's all in the creative. Okay, so that's in your cover picture, that's in your opening sentence, like the hook has to still be there. The images and videos still have to be great. Okay, but what you put in and around that and how you position yourself is what's going to be able to give you the edge. Okay, so let's start with, why does this Instagram shift even matter for you? So it is no longer just a visual platform, and it hasn't been for a while. It's now more of a search first platform. Okay, so your dream clients, and I said this before, are searching for answers. They're not searching just for aesthetics. So it's up to you to meet them exactly where they are. And Instagram now is knows that you need to be searchable to be found. Okay, so do you have all of the keywords and alt tags and everything set up, which I'm going to go into a little bit more as we go into this episode, ready to be found by your ideal client? Okay, so what's changed? So now in Instagram, that more than before, we're seeing keywords in captions. Okay, this is what you need to start considering, putting keywords into your captions. And if you're not big on writing captions, so longer form content, now's your time to get better at it. And I do want you to lean into AI and use that as a research tool, but don't use it as your brain. Okay, so it'll save you hours and hours of time in research, but it is not your thought leadership. So don't be confused, because you will sound like everyone else if this is all you are using. Okay. One of the things that makes me so different is my ability to be able to write easily and write how I think, because I've had lots of people say to me, I looked at your website, Haley, and then I caught up with you on a free discovery call. So I have those, they're free, they're 30 minutes, just to see like where you are at in your business and if I can help you to get where you want to be. And when we meet you in person, whatever that looks like, you sound the same as what you do in your podcast. You sound the same as the words on your website. You sound the same. That is not by accident. That is by purpose, and on purpose, because that's me and that's how I want to show up. And so write how you write, but then make sure you've got all of the keywords in your captions. And if you're thinking, how do I find those? They'll come up organically anyway, because that's what you do. And you just need to get more strategic on how you find them. And I do teach that inside of the Superhero Marketing Club, how to find the keywords. And I also teach that as a module inside the Magnetic Marketing Formula, which I will be launching very soon. And I'm so excited about that. The next thing on what's changed, so there's 4 things. Keywords in captions is the first one. Alt text. Okay, so that means that if you have a look on when you post to Instagram, the alt text appears before you press publish, it's a field that you need to fill out. And now what alt text is it needs to be a description of what the photo is. So it is alternate text to image. So if the this photo is of Haley Osborne sitting on a chair looking at her computer. And you can get even more clever with that. This photo is of Haley Osborne, marketing coach, consultant for health brands, sitting on a chair, looking at her computer. So you can start to get clever about describing what the image is using keywords as well. So that's the alt text. Okay, so the third thing I want to talk about with the changes is username and name field. Okay, so if your username and the name field are not strategic enough to be found using keywords, if there's something silly, then that needs to be updated and be more strategic. And I go through this in more detail in the club and in the magnetic marketing formula. And then the 4th one is searchable content formats. Okay, so what that means is carousels and guides. Okay, they are searchable content formats. Okay, so next is, I think you need to think about these changes as Google meets Pinterest meets TikTok. Okay, for Instagram. So they are moving fast with the way the rest of the world is moving when it comes to digital marketing. So think Google website meets Pinterest meets TikTok. And I will just say, if you don't have a Pinterest strategy, I think that you are batshit crazy, because Pinterest, unlike the other social, and we so digress here right now with what I'm saying, and I teach 2 modules on Pinterest because it is so important. Google and Pinterest are search engines. They will help drive traffic to your website, to your courses, to your products, whatever it is. They are not social media. It is not a social media platform. It is not TikTok. It is not Instagram. It is not Facebook. It is not Twitter. It is not LinkedIn. Pinterest sits aside from that. It is a search engine. So if you do not have your Pinterest strategy down pat, I suggest that you you organize that. If you don't know how to make Pinterest work for you, come and chat with me because that is something that I'm laser focused on. I probably do about 10 posts to Pinterest a week. And I don't really talk about that anywhere except for Pinterest. And it is a driver to my website. So if you want to know how to strategically start to map that into your strategy, into your content, I am your girl. I have been doing this for over a year now and it works. It is not just one way to grow your business. And I'm really proud of that. Okay, so what do you need to do? You need to, for Instagram, we had a little segue. Now I'm reining it back in. You need to optimize your Instagram bio for search. Okay, username, name field, bio, whatever that looks like for you. Do your keyword research. If you don't know how to do that, I suggest you jump in the next enrollment of Magnetic Marketing Formula because I go through this in absolute detail. The next thing you need to do is use keywords in your captions. So I have a few clever tricks up my sleeve how to find keywords and what people are searching for you to be able to meet them where they're at. And there's a few programs that I use that are really, really awesome in helping you do that. The next thing is hashtags. They're not dead, but they're not the only tool. So, focus on keywords and clear language in your captions and keywords that match how people talk, not just trendy hashtags. Okay. The next thing is, yes, I think alt text is definitely your secret SEO juice. And then I want you to start focusing on evergreen content. Okay. So content that really stands the test of time. So, educational carousels, listing like tips and tricks in your niche, how to post. Like these things are evergreen and they will last the test of time. I've got more ideas and examples, but they're not for this podcast. I want to just keep moving through. Make sure you've got pinned posts and they should be your most searchable and best performing posts. So they may not necessarily be a post on 5 ways to work with me. Okay. You might have like the best performing video that has ever delivered pinned to the top of your Instagram. Okay. You might want to have an about me because people want to know who is this person. As soon as if they're attracted to what it is that you've posted that day, they're going to go and stalk you. And so they want to know more about you. They don't want to have to, because I know when I am on Instagram looking through things, I'm like, well, where's this person from? And not that even matters, but I get super curious and nosy too. I'm human. And so I'll click and I can't see where they're from. Nothing in their bio tells me where they're from, which is cool. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to look at one of their videos to see what their accent is. Fine. And so a lot of the time, these all have music over them. So that doesn't even tell you. So I think if you could have an about me at the top of your Instagram, that just gives people what they want straight away. Okay, you could post a big media feature. Now, I was featured on Channel 7 and I had that definitely at the top of my Instagram for a long time, or something that is helpful, but pin it, right? So people can see how awesome you are. That's the name of the game. Think of Instagram now like a searcher, okay, as a business owner. What would you be searching for as a customer of yours to be able to find the product that you sell or the service that you provide? It's about being strategic and smart and meeting them where they are at. So start putting yourself in your client's shoes. Okay. What would they type into the Instagram search as if it was Google? Okay. Because that's where this is going. And make a list of, 10 questions or phrases or whatever, and start creating content for your Instagram that answers those questions. That's really important. And to make it easy for you, just look at if you've got FAQs on your website, look at that and start to frame it around that. Okay. So creating keyword banks, running a list of keyword and search phrases. You might think, oh my God, how do I do this? That's where I come in to help you to be able to do that. Use your bio, use the alt text, use carousel headings, all to help you to create a more SEO integrated account. Okay. And update them regularly based on what your audience is asking. So, if for example, let's think of it like Google. If your website sits dormant, and I mean like if you never update it, the likelihood of you appearing on page 2 or 3 is low. Not even page 1, forget it. Okay, you'll be back. Okay, because Google reads words and it likes it when you update your website. So, I update my website a couple of times a week. And it gets also updated every 30 minutes with the integration that I've got with Instagram in there. And so my website is always top of mind and always going to be fresh because of those things. And so think about your Instagram in the same way. Okay. So I think if ask me questions. Come along over to my Instagram and send me a direct message if you have any questions about any of the things that I've spoken about today. This is something that these things like this are what I teach inside of the Superhero Marketing Club. Okay, because I think that knowledge is one of my highest values in learning. And that's one of the things that reasons that I started this in the first place is to be able to take business owners on the journey of constantly learning and upskilling so that your knowledge gap of the way digital marketing is moving and how fast it's growing is short. Okay, because you always are making these small changes, getting on board, learning, upskilling, and always evolving into where things are going. If you don't do that, you will get left behind. And so, a fast track to learn all of these things very fast is through my magnetic marketing formula, which doors will be opening in about 4 to 5 weeks. So, stay tuned for that. But I think it's important. Knowledge is power. Okay. And never forget that. And with that, I'm going to wrap this episode up. I hope that you've enjoyed listening and learning. This was one of those deep learning episodes, which I love. If you love this, feel free to share it with a friend. That's how the podcast helps more people. That's how the podcast gets more plays, and that helps me. This is takes a lot of time and energy to create, and so every little thing is awesome. Leave me a review on Apple iTunes. That's always lovely, and a written review and a 5-star review. Definitely. I know I'm not asking for too much. Have the best week, guys, and I will catch you next week for another episode of the Hayley Osborne Show. See ya.